this. After the docu-series, I seen a lot of people trying to bring up the points of, well, and people were digging through history. Like people brought up Marvin Gaye, James Brown, like a lot of people. And one of the weird things is people act like you cannot, you know, number one, we can talk about R.Kelly, and we can talk about Marvin Gaye, we can talk about James Brown, we can talk about Rick James, we can talk about some of these successful artists without having to, you know, dig up others. We can handle this. I think people are well equipped to handle in the time that we live in. But just seeing how people just defend it and just the fallout that's been going on from this whole thing is very weird. That's why I said, bro, you brought up a good point with Heathcliff and Bill. Like I said, can we cut?
Yeah.
I said fuck R. Kelly years ago, and it's like it's weird how art also imitates life with like the Boondocks.
Yes.
And I think this whole situation is mirroring what the Boondocks pre-told, like almost step by step. So but seeing y'all as women, how do y'all feel about, especially men, especially like in hip hop, which is mostly a male-dominated genre? How do y'all feel as far as what you listen to in when a man does something like a Sheck West, the guy who did the Mo Bamba song, Justine Scott, I'm sorry for butchering her name. She came out and said he was an abuser.
Right.
He was an abuser. That he beat her.
Yeah.
And he had one of the biggest songs of the summer last year. So like, how y'all feel as women about that?
Well, I mean, all of it sucks, first of all. I mean, like, going back to R. Kelly and going back to these other musicians, the issues that we do have to hold them accountable, like you were saying. And so, like, Marvin Gaye is an abuser, then that's what he is. And anybody else who they bring up, it's like, okay, you're trying to use it as a defense, like, oh, well, y'all didn't call Marvin Gaye out. Okay, today we can't call R. Kelly out, and we call Marvin Gaye out, and call anybody else out who is abusing people, who are taking advantage of the fact that they do have this money and this power and success, and they're using that to manipulate and hurt people. Like, how is it that we are okay with that, or we're going to use other things for an excuse? Okay, R. Kelly got 12 player, he has other things, it doesn't matter. Same with Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not even sure if I know that song, but
You do.
I do. Okay, but the point is, like, at this point with like the internet, Twitter, all these things, we have more resources to like call people out, and we should use that, you know. And I just feel like there is no separation of the art and the artist when it comes to this type of stuff. Like,
if you trash, you trash.
Yeah, and so as I'm hearing about stuff, because it's different if we don't know. But and there's a lot of abusers that I don't know about, and I might not ever know about their stuff because people cover it up because of their fame and because of their power, just like they covered up all these instances for R. Kelly all these years. But and it's also up to us to hold ourselves accountable. So it's like, you know that you've heard this trash shit about this person, and you know victims have come to the surface. Why are you trying to fight that? You know, and as far as what we do, we are literally advocates for people who've been sexually assaulted. We're sexual assault survivors ourselves. So to say, like, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, these people are just coming forth for money, blah, blah. It's like, because of what we do, it's our job to always believe the victims, or like, you know, whoever's coming forward, you know. That's like, we owe that to them, because you never know. You can't just assume because they're powerful, whatever, that people just are like trying to come forward for money. As a matter of fact, they probably haven't they didn't come forward until now because they were afraid. But somebody else maybe gave them some power, or gave them like the confidence to do it, because it's hard, you know.
Right.
So I just feel like, you know, for me, as I hear about abusers and how I like see this, they're canceled in my book. Like, one of my favorites, literally, like Nadine can tell you, one of my favorite artists and producers is Amon Amarth. I love him. I went to go see him in concert 2015. I was just devastated when I missed him when he came earlier this year. I recently found out that he abused his girlfriend, you know, he's manipulative. He showed up at her house after like she broke up with him and had a restraining order on him. And I'm just like, well, how can I be like, oh, well, I love him, so, and I don't really care about R. Kelly, so let me just listen to his stuff anyway. Nadia told me this stuff. One of my friends confirmed, like, she saw this at, like, it was, what was it?
Growing Up Hip Hop.
Growing Up Hip Hop, like, about how he popped up at her door, and all her friends were just like, girl, you need to leave him alone. Why is he here? Blah, blah, blah.
They was with you in the hospital.
Yeah.
And they knew the pain that he put her through.
And so, and literally, I'm shuffling. We're, like, driving to Winston. My songs are on shuffle. His song came, I skipped that bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard because it's one of my favorite songs, but it's just like, why would I support you when if I was your girlfriend, you would beat my ass? But it doesn't have to be like about me being put in the situation. It's just about like holding
like right and wrong.
Yeah, it's about right and wrong, and just like it's not okay for you to beat on people or to molest people or like sexually assault anybody. And as long as we I guess we just put it out of our minds because the music or the show or the movie is just so great, they're still going to thrive. They're still going to be doing what they do, and they're still going to have all this fame and fortune, despite the fact that they're hurting people, and they have nobody to hold them accountable because their fans don't care.
And that also means we like promote an abusive culture because we're saying they get a pass because they got all the bops. And it's like, no, you don't get a pass because it's wrong. So it's just like I feel like we have to like unlearn certain things, and we've become used to like listening to this music growing up, and so you just like, oh no, I can't let go of Step in the Name of Love. I can't let go of Age Ain't Nothing But a Number or whatever. It's just like, why?
Oh my god.
No, that one is canceled. Like that, because I remember, I talked about this on the last episode. That I remember when the trial and stuff was going on, and these same people that are trying to cope and trying to like basically block out and defend R. Kelly because they love the music. There's a lot of people that was just trying to put a lot of victim blaming. So there's a lot of putting on the girl. I never saw the tape. I never planned on seeing it, but it was people that had seen it and they were saying, oh, well, she looked older than what she was. She probably lied about her age. There's people that are trying to say that maybe she was just like one of those fast girls, just
it's okay. Sorry, let me cut you off very quick, because one thing that drives me crazy about our culture is the over sexualization of black girls. That's crazy. How is that this little girl is 14-year-old is fast? How is that she's the person that y'all trying to...
You don't blame the grown ass
exactly.
man.
There's no little girl who's fast enough.
It's an adult that's in there, so the adult should be the one to be able to...
You a grown ass man talking about she came on to me. But
and also the idea... for one, my thing is like, I've never heard of a little boy, no matter how many girls he pulls bull by being called fast. Why is it that you're always trying to... How? Like, why is that a thing? And that's one thing that's really disgusting to me. Like, little girls aren't allowed to be...
their own behavior. They're trying to make an excuse for their own behavior.
That's
by
very
putting
true.
the blame on somebody else.
That's very true. But it's just disgusting. It's like, how can you... Like, even just scrolling down my timeline or, like, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, it's just like, y'all really out here trying to make it seem like everybody's at fault. Except for him. He is the one who ultimately did the deed. He is the person who groomed these girls and manipulated them to thinking that what he was doing was okay. Grown women too, he manipulated them too. Like, he's a master manipulator.
And that was the biggest thing that I took away from the docuseries was that his biggest supporters were women.
Right.
Yeah.
Those were like those people that were outside of his courtroom. Majority of the people that were outside of his courtroom showing him support were women. Were like older black women.
Right.
Man, not older. It'd be like maybe mid 30s to like up.
Aunties.
Yeah, like
aunties.
I don't know, but I think so I don't know. It was just kind of like I remember that
strange.
It kind of struck me as strange to see that these black women. He's targeting young black girls, and
they're still like, woo.
And they're his biggest supporter instead of being a support for these young black girls are these older black women. So I don't know. That always just struck me as weird.
I think one of the things that comes up for me about the docuseries is like, especially when it refers to people blaming the victims and calling them fast, is like we really have to think about like it from a psychology standpoint. The fact that people can actually be manipulated. So if you think about a 5-year-old, I had this conversation with a friend the other day. If every day you're telling this 5-year-old, put up the toilet seat when you go to the bathroom, and you're telling them that every day, even if it's wrong, even if it's a girl, and you say put up the toilet seat, if you're telling this person that every day, they feel like that's right, and so that's what they're gonna do. And so to say like that these girls chose to be there, it's just like, if this person is manipulating you and saying, oh, I'm gonna pay off your student loans, I'm gonna buy you a house, I'm gonna buy your mama a car, that might sound pretty good to someone who comes up from nothing. And you have to think about the people's upbringing. Like, if you don't possibly have a male figure in your life, a person like that may seem good to you, even though they're trash. And just, it's easier for you to be manipulated because you're like, well, it sounds good, and you know, I'm going to get taken care of, so why not do it?
A lot of it also centers around money. When you're poor, and you have a lack of resources,
right?
There's a greater chance that you will do something to get said resources. And I want to clear up the Marvin Gaye thing. The thing with people brought up about Marvin, apparently when his children, the mother of the child was 16 when she had him. So it's like one of the docuseries did a great job to me because it had there was different psychologists that explained the reasons why some of these things were happening.
Yeah. Right.
And then you peeped the older brother, right?
Oh yeah, the older brother.
Oh man,
wow.
He had a crazy line. He was like, I don't see what's the problem. He said, I'm attracted to older women. Rob attracted to younger women. What's the problem? And I was like, yo, there's a reason why you sitting in prison doing this interview. Like, no, you. And just hearing about the abuse that they suffered when they were children.
Right.
And, you know, and then, you know, Rob can't read, R.Kelly can't read, and there's a cycle that goes on, and especially in Black American households, Black American families,
right?
There's a lot that we also don't discuss because there was another thing I seen on social media, and the weird part about it, social media, it played a huge part in bringing this to light. It also plays a huge part because we're all on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. A lot of us, it's weird because we think that there's so much, when we see something like there's going to be some change going on, and then you get to the real world and you realize that, yes, social media can change things to a point, because to your point, bro made an appearance at a club in Chicago, packed it out. There was women who were commenting on the live feed saying, what did they say?
Oh, they was like, please take me hostage.
Please take me hostage. And I was like, I said, yo,
I
what? Please take me hostage?
And I kind of don't like, so social media, it's like, it is a great platform to really advocate for certain things, but also it's devilish at the same time because people take a serious matter and make it a joke. Oh, now we surviving in CCU. Oh, now we surviving our ex-boyfriend. Now we surviving our baby daddy. To me, that's sick because you're making a mockery. You're making it a mockery out of a serious situation.
The wild part about it, the R.Kelly case is such a unique case because it's pretty much open and shut.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, we see everything, and even R.Kelly was so big that it pervaded like the social norm. Dave Chappelle made a legendary skit about it. It involved in numerous jokes amongst comedians, entertainers.
Yes, that's so true.
The sex tape circulated. We all around the same age. I remember as a kid people talking about the tape, and I'm like, grown men were watching this tape. I'm watching.
Because I think more people were like, it was the crazier part of the sex tape for a lot of people was the fact that he was urinating on somebody. It wasn't
didn't even care. It was a little girl in the video.
This was around the time when like Paris Hilton and all these other people were like having these sex tapes.
Right.
So it was like, so that was just the fact. Oh, it was like a wild sex act. Yeah. It wasn't like, so that was the joke and that was the interest. It wasn't even like the conversation wasn't the fact that this girl was underage.
Exactly.
Right. Actually, growing up, I don't even think I knew that she was underage. Like it wasn't something that I was like
that wasn't
about,
really
but
the conversation.
Yeah, it was literally like R.Kelly peed on this girl.
I want to pee on you.
Yeah,
and it became a mockery, a joke, and we did not hold that black man accountable. Exactly. And so he prevailed with his career, and people are still like, "Woo, R. Kelly this," but it's like
he got more dangerous.
Yes,
absolutely.
As the time went on, he learned how to skate by and get away with. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think you've seen it. The New Year's Eve thing he did in Africa in 2009.
Nah, I didn't see that. No.
Oh man, this dude did a set. So he starts off the set by saying, because I remember, because artists like Vince Staples, Freddie Gibbs, they posted it.
Oh yeah,
it's such a wild video where he starts off. He says, "Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America?"
Oh, I seen that.
You seen that?
I've seen that.
Oh my God, it is so.
He's like really trying to recruit people.
Super disgusting.
He did the same thing in like I think Ethiopia. Maybe
that's where it was. It was Ethiopia.
Okay, yeah.
It was.
And he kept on singing like, "Do you got your passport?" Like trying to sell himself to these girls.
It was such a wild. It was such a wild video. Like it almost was like this doesn't even seem real. That bro is really like singing this.
Yeah, but it goes. I think it goes back to what Adia was saying. It's like when you think about, you think about foreign countries like Ethiopia and stuff like that. People paint a picture of poverty,
right? And
so when you think that you're about to go over to this poor country, and so basically when people are poor, so when people are poor, it's like. You feel like, oh, let me just give you this trip. I'm just about to take you to the dreamland.
Make your life better.
But really, you just want some sex slaves.
Poor black girls have always been a target.
Absolutely.
Of many men throughout this country's and world's history.
Absolutely. Because for one, black girls are super unprotected. It's like then you're poor, so like even less people care about you. You know, so it's like you're the perfect target. And a lot of people have even said like. R.Kelly knew what he was doing when he targeted black and black little girls. Like they're unprotected. We're not seen.
Yeah.
And if we are seen, we're overly sexualized. So it's like regardless, you can still get away with it. You can still slide, which is why he got so powerful. Which is why he's out here wilding. Like nobody chose to hold him accountable. Like I have not seen the story of R.Kelly. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I just feel like it's way too triggering. But from what I'm gathering from like Instagram and like social media is that it got to the point where he had people that work for him go out and recruit these girls. So it's like not only just nobody's telling you that you're doing anything wrong. You're out here manipulating the people that you care about, the women that you care about, these little girls, and now you have these people who are literally doing your dirty work for you. And I'm sure none of them have said anything. Obviously they didn't. They were out here literally recruiting these girls and trying to like make it to where it makes sense. It's like, okay, how? I just don't understand it. Like, how do you think, oh well, this job is more important than these girls' safety,
right,
or these girls' lives?
And an interesting point, because the fact that he had all these people like working with him to help him, it was the thing that tripped me out was that some of those people, his former road manager for one, was on there, and it brought up like an interesting point because it was saying they also brought up the decline of his career and how R. Kelly not charting as much as he was. I mean, when the last time he really had a hit, hit record. So it makes me wonder, like, is this documentary being put together now, and these people are willing to speak out? Not the victims, but I mean, like some of the other people that were around him. Is the industry ready to getting rid of R. Kelly because he's not valuable to them anymore?
That's
so it's
very
like
valid.
that's the only reason why they're even.
That shit's deep.
That's the only reason why this is even coming to the. Well, at least it's coming back out to the light to where people care about it. Because now it's like R. Kelly's not valuable, so we don't. I mean, there was even one point where I think it was Sparkle, who brought up how a record executive had said, "I don't really care if he is on the tape. He makes too much money for us, and we cannot afford to lose him."
That's
so then it makes me think about guys like the Mobama dude, Tekashi 6ix9ine, other guys that are out right now and hot right now that have been accused of similar, crimes. I feel like the real test for this is going to be whether people are able to cancel somebody
hold them accountable
when they're at the top of their game instead of when they're on the decline.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's important.
I'm sorry, I thought you started.
No,
I thought you would.
To me, it's a clear indicator. That's why I think R. Kelly is such a unique, it's such an open and shut case about one of the biggest. Dude was easily maybe one of the 10 biggest stars in music in the 90s.
Yeah.
And even
in much of the 2000s, really. Like he had 2 decades. Like
I mean, people still regard him as the quote unquote king of R&B. So I mean, but I think with cancel culture and accountability and everything that's going on in art entertainment, I don't want to say it's very interesting because there's a lot of artists that say super problematic, toxic things, they do the toxic things, and it's weird because there's a lot of layers that you can peel back. Because that's been the thing I took away from this docuseries. There was so much blowback in the industry, and the skeletons of other artists,
just like Black families,
started to come out to the light, and you see, it's very dicey. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, and it's almost like, because it's weird. He hasn't even been formally charged with the crime. We just have this mountain of evidence, of circumstantial and like just plain clear sight evidence. It's like anybody with a logical brain would be like, damn, this nigga guilty. He's guilty. But there's also other cases where, and it's weird because Terry Crews might have cost himself his acting career by speaking out against that white man that groped him, and without his consent, all of these things going in. You brought up Tekashi, which is another case. He didn't even get brung down by his case with that underage girl. It took a federal RICO case to halt his career.
Exactly.
And there's so many examples of artists that get away with just a lot. And so I'm very interested to see, even with R. Kelly, like the Spotify thing where Kendrick name got brought up, and it was like representatives from Top Dog said where they were going to take R. Kelly from Spotify playlists. They actually was going to keep his music because I don't think he owns the publishing to his music, so he can't actually make money, and that's why we're thinking his streams stopped, rose after the docuseries. And there's just a lot of layers, and just you being an artist, and things that you may have said or did in the past. That Kevin Hart is another example. Things, the homophobic tweets that he had in the past. He's kind of gone on. Well, I ain't really. I already apologized once, or sort of. I'm really doing this shit again, kind of tour. So it's very interesting to see how fans react, because we hold art as such dear pieces in our lives. You can remember when you heard a certain song or watch the movie, and then when the person who does it does fuckery, it's kind of like you get really conflicted. For some people it's easier to let go than others, And I think hip hop is a great example. There's so many artists where it's like if one person do something really fucked up, it's like, all right, boom, I can just move on to the next. But then if a bigger artist support, like we from Fayetteville, I love Cole with all my heart. When he name dropped Tekashi name in the 21 Savage record, I was like, yo, what? Well, Cole had a line where he was
basically saying pray for 6ix9ine.
Well, just pray for, he got in this situation, but it's like, even when XXXTentacion passed, and it's like, you see other rappers like, pray for him, loss of life, and it's like, I get that on one end, but I also get if somebody be like, fuck him.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to do that. So, because it's like,
Actually,
look at the terrible person this person was.
Right.
I actually made a post about him because it was so overbearing. It's like, y'all don't understand. Like I said, he was an abuser, and people are just like, well, how could you say that you're happy he's dead, or how could you blah blah blah. It's like, I'm just always post about like just standing up for this man, and even it was a singer who was basically saying like he had the potential to be something great, so why are you that's just so trash. So like I actually made a post about it because I'm just like, look, at the end of the day, like, we are going to die. That is the one thing that's promised to every single person on this earth right now. It's just, that's what it is, right? So I have no feelings about him dying. I'm not like, oh, it's just kind of like, that is what it is, and you were trash while you were living here, right? And then I'm like, all I can say is like, if my abuser passed before me, and somebody knew that we were entwined and tried to like talk about how great a person he could have been, I'll be disgusted. Because it's just like, y'all, it's like, so you're literally dismissing the reality of who he was and the trauma that he put on to other people. This is real. This is something that happened. This is something that you know for a fact. And so you're completely dismissing this because you're like, but he had potential to be greater. And try to like, compare him to Maya Angelou and to Malcolm X, in the sense of like, they were like, that's one thing is like, they try to say like, she used to be a stripper or a prostitute, like Maya Angelou, now she's this great person. How are you even comparing being a stripper, being a sex worker, to someone who is abusing people? Sex work is a choice, and it's something you shouldn't be, ashamed of. It's a job just like everything else. So why are you looking at her differently, or trying to compare her to somebody who's literally abusing people? Like, just, it's so trash, man.
And I think there's a foggy sense of like, okay, even it comes to the surface that R.Kelly was abused as a young child. Okay, we can have compassion about him being abused, but it doesn't mean you
don't
get
take
away. All the people that was in his life that knew that happened to him, he needed help, and we let this monster be created by dismissing his behavior, by saying, well, he's the king, so we're not gonna talk about this. It's just like, we can have compassion that you were abused, okay, but it doesn't mean you get a pass for abusing other people. Exactly. So it's just like, okay, for XXXTentacion's mom, we can have compassion that she lost her son, but your son was trash. Like, that's just the facts, and it's not fair for a survivor to have to like relive everyone saying what he could be. Well, what he was when he was living was beating my ass. And that's just what it is. So that's how I feel about that.
Alright, but that's our time, y'all. Thank y'all for being part of the show. I really appreciate y'all coming through and doing this episode with me. It's been a wonderful discussion. Until next time, it's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous. This is Dangerous Minds. We out.
Gang, gang.
I'm like...